and welcome to the Entrepreneur Experts Cafe, sponsored by Entrepreneurs Rocket Fuel. I'm Kimberly Hobshad, your host and the creator of the Facebook community, Entrepreneurs Rocket Fuel. It's a community by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs to help entrepreneurs and experts get their business to the next level. Come join the community at www.entrepreneursrocketfuel.com/Facebook. Join the conversation. Today, I'm going to interview Simone Usselman Tod. Simone is an expert on calming the emotional storm within. Simone, welcome to the Entrepreneur Experts Cafe.
Thank you, Kimberly. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Super glad to get you here. I know that you're a really busy woman, and I wanted to chat with you a little bit about your background and bring what you bring to the community that we have for Entrepreneur Experts Cafe. So before we get started, tell us a little bit about you and how you sort of got into this world of stress and anxiety and calming that emotional storm.
Thanks very much, Kimberly. So my background is actually in the medical field. I spent 30 years working as an X-ray technologist and working with a lot of families and individuals who are experiencing trauma, illness, and health issues. That led me to really explore how to prevent some of this onslaught that I was seeing with people who are having surgeries and all kinds of crisis in their life. And I actually transitioned about 15 years ago into being a health and wellness practitioner, doing body work for people to helping them prevent some of the health issues that I knew were the end result of their stress. So as I've sort of moved along my path from the medical field to health and wellness practitioner and doing body work with people, I realized that when people had emotionally expressed what was going on with them and why they were having tension in their bodies, we got much better results with them having their massage or body work done. So I thought, well, that's sort of interesting. What's the mind piece around that? So that led me into coaching. And so now I, despite being the health and wellness practitioner that I am, on top of that, I do training. I'm a certified life and business coach, and I have a program called Dynamic Visioning, which is a mindset, a mental rehearsal, and a brain training program. So I really teach people how to manage their stress levels, how to change their unproductive habits, and eliminate their emotional triggers so they can shift their energy, be healthier, attract more positivity in their life, and in all aspects of their life, personally and professionally. And really that came from my own stressors. So working in the medical field in a very high stress, high expectation, giving quality patient care with it on a timeline, and having a very tightly scheduled day, as well as trying to manage my family and trying to take care of myself felt like an almost impossible task at times. And so as I moved into moving through the body work and into coaching, I really learned about how the mind works and how it affects us mentally, emotionally, and physiologically. And
that's a really good question. And I know that there's a lot of stress that happens in many different people's lives. So is it okay if we just talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So tell me, like you were in this very highly stressful situation in the medical field, right? And there's a lot riding on it. There's lives riding on it, right? Sure. And to be able to shift out of that and be able to say, okay, well, I know this is stressful and I know I have to do my job, but also I have to release some of that stress in order to perform at my peak. They seem like they compete against each other. It's almost counterintuitive. Like I need to work in a very high stressful environment because it is naturally high stress, but in order to be able to perform well and save lives, I also have to enact some level of calm. Is that right?
That would be right.
Okay, yes. Great. So how do we do that? Because it seems like that would be difficult.
Right. And so what I see is some people pushing through that stress or pushing down the emotions and ignoring their feelings. And that works in a short term, but when we have a long-term stressful dynamics, that doesn't work long-term, and there's usually fallout. There's fallout with our families, with our friendships, with our, maybe our siblings. Our cup is full, and it doesn't take a lot for an emotional trigger to set us off. Somebody says something, they say it the wrong way, they look the wrong way, right? We don't feel they have consideration for how we're feeling. And there's this big miscommunication that happens on many levels, verbally, physically, on so many levels. So when we start to change our internal state, our own emotional state internally, it changes how other people respond to us.
I believe that that's true, but how do we do that? I mean, in the heat of the moment when you're in it, this is something that I, certainly have struggled with and practiced and gotten better at over the years. But, when you feel that emotional trigger fire, it takes a lot to not follow that trigger, right? It takes a lot of emotional awareness to be able to say, wow, look at me. I'm super triggered right now. I could really fly off the handle if I'm not careful, and be able to be aware of that and sort of distance yourself from the emotional trigger, because it can be, just like you said, it could be the way somebody looks. Like, I have had teenage children, and if they roll their eyes, that could mean something to me really, really important, right? And then suddenly I'm triggered. So how do you distance? What's your recommendation for distancing from that so that we can take care of ourselves emotionally?
Well, I think part of it is learning, right? We need to learn what that emotional trigger is and how do we manage it. And so for me, when I feel emotional trigger, I'm like, ooh, that's interesting, because I know that's my emotional trigger. And I think we had an experience recently, Kimberly, around this, right? And we talked about that. And I was definitely, I felt the anxiety jump and not feeling like I had control over a situation. And I stop and I kind of stop and I just look at the situation and really just slow things down mentally.
Good.
So, and we can do that by breathing. So we can do various things. We can do it through talk, but what if we actually know ourselves how to breathe in and slow down our emotional response so that our nervous system isn't as triggered. And when we understand that our triggering creates a fight flight response, which is sympathetic, then what happens is we stop thinking, we start reacting. And when we're reacting, we can't control ourselves or anything around us. We can't make an impact. All we can do is react to that situation, which often it's not the outcome that we want. And so I really try to help people understand, so what would you like instead? What would you like instead of feeling that trigger, of feeling like you are very upset and are, it happens so quickly we don't even think about it. So I would take a big breath in and recognize that trigger as a little red flag to say, breathe in deeply and slowly, and start to look at it with curiosity and interest rather than completely jumping in full tilt.
I've heard that curiosity can be the cure for this. Like, in curiosity, you can't be curious and angry at the same time. Is that true?
Well, I think it makes it very challenging, don't you think?
I do. But I actually heard, like, in your brain, stress-wise, you can't be like, that's interesting, and at the same time be like, I actually really hate that person. Like, you just have to choose one or the other. And as soon as you choose curiosity, like, wow, that's a lot going on in me right now. I went right to the 16th floor instead of like going slowly up the stairs, Nope, I'm there at the top.
And to some degree, it depersonalizes it, right? You don't take it so personally. It's like, what is going on here? You get to see a bird's eye view of what's going on and the interactions that are going on. And I think because of the work I did in the hospital, and I saw the big picture, how families interacted, the medical field interacted. And one of my sensitivities, if you like, is connection. And I can feel when people are connected, and I can feel when they withdraw, or if they're escalating emotionally. And so because I'm really tuned into that, when somebody's sharing something with me, I can get really clear very, very quickly of what the underlying cause of that is, and help people sort of lead them to understand that, so that they've got the opportunity to empower themselves around that piece. Empowering your ability to manage your emotional state changes everything.
That's fantastic. So you've really not only done work yourself to be able to manage an environment that's extremely stressful, you've really come up with a science sort of behind it so that you can help other people manage their stressful situations as well. Is that right?
That's correct. For me, I'm all about application. So for me to really make this really fulfilling for myself and my clients, I needed to create a replicatable system that I could teach them, and I could show them now a 6-step process, easy,
Mm.
efficiently, to shift those emotional triggers, unproductive habits, and the stressors in their lives, to have more positive results. And it's beautiful. There's this beautiful ripple effect that happens when somebody understands how to do this, and they can understand how to do it in the moment. And most of us initially will need to have the 6 steps. As we learn this, it's instantaneous. And all of a
Mm.
sudden, we're not affected by the stressors in our external world, and we get freedom.
Wow. Well, I think that's really what most entrepreneurs are after. As a matter of fact, that's why most entrepreneurs say they went into entrepreneurship in the first place, is to get freedom, right? And then they get tied up in the stress, and they get tied up in the work, and they get tied up in the hours, and they don't have financial, geographic, or location freedom. They don't have anything, you know, and then they've got stress on top of it, which is its own little trap.
Right. And so what I find, this process that I teach people, which I teach it within, 4 to 6 sessions.
Mm.
And then they have the template. And so once they have the template, they can apply it to any challenge in their life. And all of a sudden their lives start to change around their careers, their relationships, their finances, and their health. And the results are profound. And the change for some of those people is almost instantaneous.
Can you tell us maybe an example of somebody who went through your program and what results they got?
Well, I can think of one particular person. There's many, but this particular person came, and her first session, she was in tears about what was happening in her life. She really felt like she didn't have any control, and she was feeling like she was at the effect of everything in her life.
Mm.
And so what we did was we shifted that, and within 6 weeks, she had become independent. She had met her goal of making $10,000 a month, and that continued with that. So she had an increase of $6,000 a month within a 6-week period. Her relationships improved. She connected with her soulmate.
Wow.
So there's all this beautiful fallout that happens, this ripple effect that happens when we start to manage ourselves and actually be true to ourselves and be really authentic and really acknowledge ourselves.
And I really, that part about the way that you show up in the world, Simone, is very remarkable. It's not just like, you need to fix this. It's more like, this is who you are as a human being. Let's manage that to the best way possible so that you get the results you want. It's not about, for me, I've never been one for real compliance. You know, it's not about like, let's do it the right way, right? It's more about like, okay, what works for me? You know, in my personality, I'm loud, I'm this way, I'm that way. And what can I do in order to have the most productive way as possible to interact in the world without frightening off other people, but at the same time without not having really high stress levels. And you have a methodology that helps people sort of get into that and use who they are with no shame in that game, and manage it so that they get better results for themselves and consequently better results for other human beings as well. Is that right?
Yeah, and so that's how we change the world, right? And so the work that I do, actually, I customize it, even if it's within a group work or whether it's one-on-one work. I have a lot of leaders who work with me because they want to do one-on-one work. They want to do it privately. They've got their own stuff going on. They don't want to necessarily expose themselves that way. So, you know, my medical background has that confidentiality piece that is really, really important, I think. And what I really love is those people who are stepping into leadership have so much at stake. They are so willing to do the work, and the change happens so quickly. And they're like, this is magic. I said, It's not magic, it's actually science.
But it feels like magic. That's awesome. Well, Simone, thank you so much for sharing with us today. If our audience wants to get more, like obviously you're the expert at this, and you make it easy and simple and straightforward and a process to follow. How can they get in touch with you to learn more?
They're welcome to get in touch with me through my website, which is SimoneUsselmanTod.com. So just my name with .com afterwards. You can search me. And
let's spell that out for people on the podcast.
SimoneUsses as in Sam, ELMANTOD.com. So they're welcome to contact me through my website, and they can also email me through Simone@dynamicvisioning.com.
Nice. Okay, great. And then you do have upcoming events, is that right? So share with us a little bit about that.
I have an upcoming event. I'm running a webinar called Calming Emotional Chaos, Overwhelm, and Stress. So it's an
Wait a minute, say that again. I want that. I want all of that. So tell me that again.
The webinar is called Calming Emotional Chaos, Overwhelm, and Stress. It'll be a 1-hour webinar. I'll be talking about some of the basic principles, the first steps to creating that magic in your life. The first thing is to calm the mind. And then I'll be talking about this part of our mind that is like a tracking dog. And if you know what you want, we can train your mind to actually search for that.
Nice. I like it. All right. Well, we are at time. Thank you so much for carving time out of your day. I know you're a very busy woman, and I appreciate you spending time with us to talk on the Entrepreneur Experts Cafe. Before I let you go, do you have any final words for our crew? Anything that you can send us off with?
So I think of Viktor Frankl's quote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves."
Oh, that gave me chills. Oh, I love that. Viktor Frankl. And really, that's, you can only change so much. And the best thing you can change is yourself. That's the fastest, easiest way to do it. Although I do like changing other people if I can, because really they could make my life a lot easier if they would just change a little bit.
Yes. And the beauty of it is once we change ourselves, that automatically happens. It's so beautiful.
I know.
Totally excited. Yeah, thank you.
So true.
Thank you, Kimberly. What a wonderful opportunity to spend some time with you and your wonderful, beautiful big energy, and knowing that you're here to make a difference in the world in such a powerful way. And I feel very grateful to be had spent this time with you. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, folks, that's it. Another episode of the Entrepreneur Experts Cafe. Super glad to have had Simone here. Stay tuned for another one. Cheers. We're out.